Hello and welcome to a special edition of AC with Wacy. This is a special episode that I meant to have out a couple days ago, but life events and work events kept me from getting it. But this is a report on what we're going to refer to as the mold house. This here is why your HVAC is one of the most important parts of your build on a tight home. Specifically with spray foam homes, but really any tight construction. There's a lot of people out there just throwing systems in and kind of guessing at what they're doing. I guess without further ado, let's roll through it. By the way, this report for contractors who are watching is generated using Company Cam. If you're not using Company Cam currently, I suggest looking it up, or an app like it manually uploads photos into the cloud from all of your guys as they're working, and then you can create reports and all sorts of this stuff with it. So to start off with, I did a manual JDNS of the exterior of the house, more of a block load, so I didn't get a good duct report. But essentially, the house comes in at 31,375 BTU for max cooling. That's the max load on the house. Now, I don't have a blower door test, so I don't know that that's exact. I'm using just a sort of a set value to assume that it's tight enough for spray foam, but not an overly tight, overly efficient house. Basically, what this means is that the largest unit that you can put in and still be inside of manual S on this home is a 2.5 ton unit if you're using a single speed unit. If you're using a 2-speed unit, there are some 3 tons where the manufacturer output shows 34,500 BTU or less, and those would work. I'm not a fan of 2 speeds, but that would fall into manual S and be properly sized. And then a variable speed, which is my preference on any tight construction, can be a 3 ton, but the max output of the BTUs is 40,700. Essentially, that's going to be oversized unless if you're on like a 105-degree day, maybe you need 36,000 or whatever. But most of the time with a variable speed, it's something like 85 or 87% of the time you don't need your peak load. That's why sizing these ACs for peak load is really sizing them for like 10% of the year. So keep that in mind as we go through this. So the variable speed allows your unit to run less than that if it needs to, or get up to that if it needs that. In this home, variable speed running at that 40,000 will never run high speed. Essentially, the house is gaining heat at different rates according to the building material, the tightness, the insulation, the outdoor temp, outdoor humidity, etc. Your manual J calculation is your contractor taking all of that stuff into account when determining how many BTUs they need in this home. You put in kitchen equipment, washer and dryer, refrigerators, all of this stuff that creates heat, the number of people, the type of ventilation you need, etc. So basically, we use local weather data, and manual J dictates that you use 75 degrees in cooling for a set temp, 70 in heating. So when people set their temperature to 70 degrees cooling, you're actually setting it past where code basically tells us to set our temperatures at when we're designing these homes. One thing that I will see is if we design it for 70 degrees, specifically if you're using a single or 2-speed, and then you keep your house at 77 or 78, the humidity in the house will not keep under control. So keep that in mind. If you're like, well, I'd like to keep my house at 70, you really need to be on the variable speed and allow that variable speed to do its thing, because if you set it up at 77, 78 and it doesn't cycle as much as the report thinks that it's going to, then you're basically not going to cycle in the spring and fall when it thinks that you'll have at least some minimum runtime on the unit. You likely won't have any at all, which will allow humidity to build up. So basically, this goes through if you oversize the AC, your AC is going to short cycle. It's going to turn on, it's going to cool the air so fast that the temperature drops, but the humidity is not pulled out. In a traditional home, you're passing air from inside and out. Moisture can travel from inside and out. It can kind of balance with the outside air. In a tight home, it's not the same thing. That humidity can't transfer in and out through the foam. So basically, you're sealing this home tight. When the HVAC is done correct in a tight home is a much better construction, because if you give me a space and you tell me you're going to seal it as tight as you can to where the outside cannot influence it, if I'm a good HVAC contractor, I can size it to be comfortable. I can control that humidity. I can clean the air. I can filter the air. I can give you a clean, controlled environment. If, however, you do not do all of those things and you have a tight home where you're not removing humidity properly, you're not bringing in fresh air properly, your house is essentially a petri dish. You go ahead and put some moisture and organic material of any sort into a petri dish and see what happens. But basically, that's the whole idea behind the manual JDNS, is you want to know how many BTUs you need to cool the house. You want to know what systems are capable of doing that. And you want something that can vary within a range to keep it close to that. Basically, going to the variable speed is an easy way to fix this issue. You still want to do your manual JDNS. If you put too big of a variable speed, then the bottom side of the compressor where it can vary at often will cause your home to still have some issues. It won't be as bad as a single speed that's oversized, but you want to go ahead and do your manual JDNS and follow the report. And it is in code. Even in Texas, we're on 2015 energy code. And as much as people disagree with me, it's been a thing for several years now. I don't care if you're in the country, the code applies everywhere in the state. You should be doing this on all of your new construction projects. If you're building a house, you should be requesting this. If you are a homeowner who's having someone build you a home, you should have this manual JDNS in your reports. I didn't assign equipment to this because basically we don't know exactly what we're going to do with the house yet, but this first photo just shows us what our sensible and latent gain is, what the airflow and all of that stuff is, shows you where our temperatures are set for our design, and you can see the outdoor design temp using in our area for the average max is 99.6. All of that fun stuff. And here that we're shooting for a 50% relative humidity level. Goes through the design conditions, tells you how much you should be aiming for. Remember, this is the hottest day of the year that it needs this 31,375. That means that the rest of the time you drop to 95, you drop to 90, you drop to 80. It does not need near this much. It's not a straight line going down. There's compounding factors as you go down. So when you're at 80 degrees, it isn't an, hey, we go from 100 to 90, we can just drop the size 10%, 20%. It's a compounding thing, and your load at 80 degrees versus 100 degrees is much less than 20% less. So keep that in mind. And then I went ahead and looked up the output of the current system for them. As you can see, it's running 36, almost 37,000 BTUs at peak. And depending on how the airflow and static pressure is, it can be around 33,000. But basically, either way, we're way oversized on this house already. That's their current product data, their air handler. The ductwork on this installation is actually sealed really good. In theory, that's a great thing. You're getting the most effective delivery of the cooling that you've designed for this house. If you have a ton of duct leakage and you've designed the house properly, then you won't be able to keep up because a lot of it's leaking into your attic, all of that fun stuff. But on this house, given that it's oversized, it means that it's leading to more short cycling because we're getting that efficiency of delivery. So in this case, even though they did a good job sealing it, which is what people see, and that's really my problem with builders is it's what people see that they really care about, and I think they should delve farther into the trades and learn some of these specifics that they can look for, or at least request the manual JDNS and check the sizing against it. The fresh air intake is done incorrect. They have a duct going to, I believe, an eave, where that eave is cut for some ventilation. And then it terminates straight to the return. No damper, no timer, no filter, nothing. It's just straight air from outside, regardless of what the outside is doing. When the unit is off, this is the equivalent of having a window open, basically like having a window open about a half an inch, about a foot wide. So you have that air drifting in. Once the unit turns on, you're pulling 100 and some CFM through there, and it is unconditioned, unfiltered air. So if it's 105 outside, you are pulling 105 degree air, if not hotter when coming out of an eave like that. And if there's wasp nests, whatever built in there, you're pulling all that dirt and everything with it. It's not filtered before it hits the system. The filters are in the ceiling of the home, not at the unit, so it's not even filtering it before it hits the coil and supply. Mixing that 105 degree air with the air from your home, if your home is, this one was running 69 degree air in the home, but the humidity was so high that it did not feel like 69. But you're basically mixing that 105 and that 69, which is adding to the humidity because you're adding heat to cold air. If it's raining outside, it's even worse because then you are pulling in air that is essentially rain from outside, and then adding the problems of moist air and dirt and everything mixing together. I'm suggesting a fresh air box. An ERV is a better solution, but this homeowner's wanted an idea of how to best go about it while not hitting all of the high-end stuff. The fresh air box will work similar. It'll have a filter, it'll have a control. So the control will bring in a certain amount of air throughout the day, but it will also make decisions. If it is 105 outside, it'll say, let me wait a couple hours, let that temperature drop, and then I'll bring the air in. Or if it's above a certain percent of humidity outside, it'll say, hey, let's wait a while, bring it in later. And then that air will be filtered before it hits your plenum, which means that you are getting a much better temperature of air into your unit, much better humidity level, and you've got it filtered before it hits your coil in your unit and your supply air, all of that fun stuff. So basically that's what we're doing with their fresh air. Their dryer vent loop, their dryer vent has a kind of like a loop. You'll see the picture in a minute. Dryer vents are supposed to have vertical rise and run uphill as they vent out. you're venting humidity and heat, but there's also lint and stuff going with it. So the idea behind the rise is that lint can't build up in your system. You'll get a good example of how not to do it down here. I don't like these triangular Y junction boxes. What we typically see is these seams up here on the triangle on the top will essentially break down over time, and you'll see leakage in them. This one has a hanger for it, but they cut the hanger for some reason. So you can see like the kinks in the ductwork, and then this duct like swoops out and over and up. It's cool. You can see they sealed the crap out of it. They put a bunch of mastic on it. But anyways, I'm not a fan of these triangular boxes. I prefer either Ys or straight runs. I personally only Y a duct if it's going to the same room. You know, say we need 2 7s in a room, we can run a 9-inch duct and Y it and get 2 7s without having to make 2 holes off of our plenum, something like that. But this here is not my favorite type of junction box by far. Again, on the supply plenum, they masticed it up. It's sealed up good. Actually, even these 90s up out of the unit. I mean, this one's a little tight, but it'll pass air. I would like to do, if it was my system, I would probably take a CFM hood and make sure that it's putting out the right CFM. But assuming it's putting out the right CFM, this is all sealed good. It's level. I like hanging them rather than setting them on the deck like this. When you set them, it's fine, everything's level. But over years, especially if you get a lot of humidity in your home, like we're going to see here, this wood can shift and settle and end up with one side or the other high or low and cause your drainage to be an issue. Also, this styrofoam pad that they have under it's interesting. I've seen a few of them. I don't know what to make of them. I guess it's better than wood because it doesn't rot out. But at the same time, I would much rather see that unit hung with the hung right hanger. And then this is just showing the styrofoam there. The plenums have been sealed really good. You can see they painted them up good. They made sure that air was delivering properly. Yeah, again, another picture of the ceiling. This is coming off the back of the unit. They've got hangers. Ductwork for delivery purposes wasn't done terrible. I mean, I know there's people out there that are going to go off on using flex ducts in general, let alone having turns in it. But bottom line, if you take a CFM test and you're getting the CFM you're supposed to be getting, then, you know, that's what it is. This is our fresh air. The customer had pulled it off because it had been raining and they had been getting, he said he was registering 90 to 95% humidity in his house. So his wife commented that the sheets would be wet on the bed. But anyways, he pulled that off and capped it off, and that wasn't a terrible idea by any means. This is the fresh air duct going out to the eave. This is our dryer vent, which is really awesome. As you can see, it goes over and it's got a nice rise till right here. And then they decide to put this flex piece on. And they've got a nice little P-trap for dryer lint and everything to catch in. But anyways, I just thought that was kind of cool. So that's a picture of it. On the testing, I used, it's called an indoor air quality doctor. It's not an overly advanced machine. I'd like to get one that has some cooler features to it, but it's a pretty good carry with you air quality tester. And then it gives you a nice report, and it even supplies a video walkthrough to tell homeowners, you know, what all of the numbers mean. This does two things for you as a contractor. It gives you a third-party unbiased opinion or register of the air. basically them going through how it affects them saves you a whole lot of talking and explaining the thing over and over. And then it gives them something on paper that they can actually go through, rather than you just going through and saying, hey, your PM levels are bad or your CO2 levels are bad or whatever. I was surprised to find the PM levels in this house tested really well. But the homeowner said that the air handler runs almost 24/7, just because it's short cycling so much. So I guess their filters are doing a good job. The humidity levels in this home aren't just bad; they're unhealthy, dangerous. When I was there, I read anywhere from 73 to 88, depending on where I was at in the house or the attic or whatever. Anything above 60 is going to be building mold and bacteria and viruses and all of that fun stuff. But getting above 70, your wood begins absorbing water and you start having issues with that. The CO2 levels were bad in the home. Honestly, part of it was that he wasn't bringing in fresh air because he had capped that off. But I honestly think a lot of it is just the amount of water in the air in the house. So I don't even know what to make of the CO2 number, to be honest, just because when I say it was uncomfortable, like it was 69 degrees, and when you walked into the house, it was smothering. I feel really bad for the homeowners because this cannot have been fun to live with, let alone live with for an extended amount of time. This house is only 2 to 3 years old. There's, I think they said 5 more right next to it, built by the same builder, same year, with the same problems. So hopefully we'll be able to help them address all of those. But I really feel for this homeowner because they've got a new home that they paid for that I wouldn't sleep the night there. Put it that way. And we'll go through a bunch of this stuff that's not healthy. But I feel really bad for them, let alone have 6 of these houses on the same street. The builder was from out of state. They're having trouble getting him called in. They don't know the HVAC contractor, so looking up his license number and going through the state for that's proving difficult, but I think they're trying. The house was inspected when it was built, not when they bought it, but when it was built. I don't know. Inspectors need to do better. They get picky about some of the stupidest stuff. Tape and writing, and if you have a break in the insulation on your suction line here or there, but they don't ask for a manual JD&S. They don't check the humidity or check the ventilation to make sure it's done right. Just the things that really matter should be inspected better, in my opinion. I mean, there's things that they look at that maybe I think aren't that important that they do, and I can be wrong. But I know for sure that if they're not asking for a manual JD&S, they're not checking the ventilation into a home, they're not checking the size, especially on spray foam. It's yeah, it's just poor inspection. Okay, so as you can see here, this is sitting in their living room. We have 73%. 49 on the hvac levels isn't bad, but 73% isn't good. And the temperature down there at 67. So this is why temperature is not the most important number on your home. They're keeping it 67 to 69, and with 73% humidity, I can tell you that is not comfortable. It is not cold. This number, your temperature number, matters. But really, if your humidity isn't there around 50%, it's not going to be what you think of 67 to 68, 69 feeling like. And then you can see their CO2 levels. Generally, you want 1,000 to 2,000. A lot of statutes say 1,000 or under. I mean, going by the book, 1,000 or under. If it was at 2,000, I wouldn't panic. But anything over 2,000, you're getting pretty high. These are some sensors that I set throughout the house to kind of confirm. So this one I believe was in the bedroom. This one was in the hallway under the return. And again, you see 70% humidity, around 70 degrees. So it kind of verifies that our house is sitting at 70 to 75. The attic was higher. Obviously, a lot of that air is not moving, plus the humidity is building. Not good. These are some screenshots of the air quality doctor report. Tells you some different ways that you can do ventilation and address CO2. Let's go down. These are the pages that I really like. It tells you what it's measuring, and then it will go through right here at the assessment readings and how to fix it, and they'll tell you. Oh, that one doesn't have it on that page. Let's see if it's on the next page. Oh, yep. And it will tell you exactly how it's impacting your health. It'll tell you some different things that you can do to make it better. Like I said, as much as the ventilation is a problem with him closing that off, I feel like a lot of this is due to the ducts, which we'll get to in a minute, having mold growing in them, and then the humidity levels and all of that stuff adding to the CO2. And then it'll tell you if your humidity gets too low. Some people have put in a dehumidifier and they set it on 20 or 30 because, I mean, if dryer's better, you can't get too dry, right? Well, wrong. Actually, colds do really well in low humidity settings. Low humidity can damage your paint, your siding, your wood. Your skin gets really itchy, all of that stuff. But if you get over that 60%, then you're growing mold bacteria. You end up stuffy a lot. You have discomfort just sitting around the house. All of that stuff. It even walks through here how to deal with mold and all of this stuff that we're going to address. It basically says, tells you why controlling your humidity is a good thing and what it addresses and all of that fun stuff. Let's get scrolled past the humidity and the CO2. This is the report. This is the actual overall report. I don't know how the air quality index is that good. I guess because the PM levels are so far down. But yeah, this is in my opinion, one of the most unhealthy homes that I've been in, and a lot of it could have been taken care of by proper HVAC and proper building practices. So obviously, I'm giving a report of the issues. The major issue is obviously the mold. So mold needs three things to really thrive. It needs an organic food source, which can be about anything in your home. It needs humidity, and then it needs temperatures, and I'm going to butcher these temperatures, I can't remember, but I believe it's like 70 to 86 or 87, which is conveniently right in that range that we like our houses at. If you remove the humidity or remove the food source, the mold will stop growing. Mold spores, however, can sit there dormant, and then when those things are available again, the mold can hit again. So basically, for starters, we need to eliminate the humidity, stop the growth. It can be done by a whole home dehumidifier. It leaves that oversized AC short cycling out there, and it'll short cycle even more once the humidity is under control because it doesn't have to work as hard. But basically the whole home dehumidifier would drop the humidity levels. I'm proposing to do it with its own duct system so that we can have a sensor in the attic and one in the home, and we can circulate air through it and dehumidify both that way. Once the humidity is removed, I like the Solaris products on IAQ. If you're not familiar with it, try to get with them. I use Robert Madden Industries. If you're in the Texas location, they have the Solaris products, but they break it up into pieces. So they have the power pack that feeds power to everything, which can be wired into 220 or 110. And it's actually a lifetime warranty on it. They said they've only had a couple ever fail. But from there you can hook up UV lights, you can hook up an ionizer, you can hook up an air scrubber, and they'll all power off the central control, but you're really addressing all of the issues. The ionizer charges particles so that they combine together and make bigger particles so that your filter is more effective. The number that the government testing gave them is that it makes it at least 20% more effective. They said they really feel like the number is closer to 50, but the number that whatever FDA or whatever told them they have to use is 20. So, but that makes your filter more effective. Obviously, you want to put your filter at your unit when using these. I mean, you don't have to, but it keeps all of that stuff from getting to your coil. And then on the wet side of your coil, you want to put a UV light. That's providing, the wet side of that coil is providing an area for mold and bacteria and sludge and stuff to build. And putting a UV light there not only helps kill off that stuff in the air that's passing through it, but it'll keep your drain from stopping up as often because it really doesn't give it any material to get washed down in there. And then on the supply end of that, you put an air scrubber with a UV light. Again, you're addressing mold, bacteria, all of that stuff, and cleaning, really getting the hvac levels and all of that stuff down on the supply end. And it really gives you a full system cleaning, which is good for the homeowner's health. But the thing that I hadn't thought of that they pointed out to me, and I kind of felt stupid when they did, is as much as it's for the home's health, the cleaner you keep that system, the longer it will last, the more efficient it is, the less maintenance you have to do. So these systems not only address the home, but they're addressing our system, and really that should be looked at as your first priority anyway. So as a contractor, if you're not a believer in IAQ from the health aspect, think about what it does for your equipment, because for years as I was in this, no one ever brought that up, and it's a really obvious thing that I should have thought of, but I hadn't thought of. So if you're a contractor and you don't want to get into the health stuff and all of that, think about it from your equipment end and how much it does for you there. Basically, once we remove the humidity, we're going to put these IAQ products in. That will be addressing not only the air circulating in, but the air in the home and the surfaces on the home that our air scrubber is going through and making cleaner and killing off everything in the home as everything circulates through there. The duct cleaning on this is going to be a necessity. Again, we'll get to pictures in a minute, but the ducts are filled with mold. So if you were to clean out the humidity, put your air scrubber in, put your IAQ, and called it good, you would still be leaving a large buildup of stuff in your ductwork, where if your IAQ failed or your humidity control failed or whatever, all of these problems would be there again. So we have a duct cleaning company, H2 Air, with Jason Harbor, does an amazing job. He's got a negative pressure machine, and they are duct cleaning professionals. And that's at some point when my company gets large enough, I'll probably add it on as a service. But we are HVAC professionals. We know what we're doing on AC equipment. It's hard enough to keep a lot of guys qualified on what you're doing, let alone spread yourself out too thin. And trying to have my guys be duct cleaning professionals and AC professionals and all of these other things has never seemed worthwhile to me. So I guess we we hand a lot of that stuff off to Jason with H2 Air. If you're in the North Texas area, I suggest looking them up. Jason's a great guy, very professional, does really good work, and is really conscious of his customers' health and trying to make sure he does right by them. I guess let's see. He had asked about what's the bare minimum that we can do. I guess in this area, the bare minimum is get the humidity out of the air. So that's the dehumidifier. I don't feel like that's the approach we should take. I've become in recent years a very much take it or leave it type bid on a lot of stuff. If I think like this that you should do the whole thing, I've really gotten to where I'm like, if we can't do it the right way, I don't know that I want to do it. But with situations like this, I understand it's an expensive fix. They can't get any help from the builder. They're fighting on that end. It's a fairly new home, so they just spent, if I was to go build a home tomorrow, I'd have to spend most of my life savings to do it. And then to be 2 years down the road and have a major expense on something like this, I understand that end of it. So I had told him we would work with him, and if we need to piece it together, piece by piece, the start is getting the humidity out of the air. At least kill off what's growing and get that to a healthier level in the home. Past the urgent health concerns of the humidity and the mold and all of that stuff, cabinet doors are starting to settle in the house. I noticed this in a lot of houses that have high humidity. You move into the home, your cabinets are nice and level, all the doors line up, all of this, and then, a few months later, a year later, man, one seems to be settling down, the corners off kilter, and you rehang it, and then it's down again, and that's from your wood absorbing water, especially with as high as the humidity is in this house. If you get to 60%, I really think it affects a lot of this stuff. I know the number that I've read in studies is 70, but I really think at 60% plus you're dealing with this. His doors and windows are settling. There's not gaps in the windows yet, but the front and back door, there's a gap where you can see light through it, and she had mentioned that gap will be bigger or smaller depending on the time of the day, and that's because that door has absorbed so much water that when the front side of the house is hot, some of that moisture will leave, the door will contract a little bit, make that gap bigger, and then as the sun moves to the other side of the home, it'll absorb water again, and then the other side will contract up. But basically, even if we get all of this stuff under control that I want to get under control for the health of the home and all of this stuff, I think that they're going to have a battle on their hands with doors and windows and cabinets and flooring and just all of this stuff. Again, this is just a terrible thing to see a homeowner have to deal with a new house. Again, this is why I think that we should expect better out of contractors. We should inspect them a little better. The inspector should know what they're talking about, specifically with this manual JDNS and getting the sizing right, getting the ventilation right, all of this stuff. And then we should just do a better overall job. So here you can see there's mold around the outside of the grills. I didn't take a ton of pictures to put in here because they're all the same. They've got mold on the end. This is gap on the front door. You can see where the top's settled in, bottom's shifting out. Cabinets starting to sit out of line, and I think she said they had adjusted them once. Again, mold around a bunch of the register, and I only included a few pictures because they live in the home, they know what it is. It's around all of them. You can see here the return box in the attic around the boot. We call the delivery box in the attic a boot. This is around the return, but it's around all of the supplies as well. This is the inside of the duct. Again, 2 years, ladies and gentlemen. That's all it takes. Inside of the return box. The inside of the unit looks very similar to that. I wasn't doing a good job saving photos on company cam while I was there, and I don't have my pictures from inside the unit, but just trust me, that's what the inside of the unit looks like as well. Then we get to our suggested fixes. I'm bidding to put a hvac unit on there. We can take advantage of the indoor unit that way. If you were to move to a variable speed communicating system, such as a Train XV or a Carrier Infinity, you'd have to change that indoor unit. We're going to try to do the hvac, save them a little bit of money, still move them to variable speed, still get them inside of that manual JDNS. And then, yeah, that'll be a little better way to do it where it can adjust as the loads adjust. The whole home dehumidifier, even though on some homes you can get by without a dehumidifier in the attic or whatever because you have the variable speed outdoor. This home has enough stuff in it. I just don't want that time of the year to where they shut down their AC. You know, they're getting by because it's cool in the house. I don't want that humidity getting up there. We're going to do our best to get all of the spores that we can, but I don't want to risk that ever getting there. So we want to do the home dehumidifier. We want to hit the Solaris IAQ. Again, very good products, very good warranty, address all the different things. Duct clean provided by H2 Air. Basically what I want to do is change the outdoor unit, install the dehumidifier, get the humidity under control first. If we can schedule it with Jason, I would like to hit the duct cleaning before the IAQ so that we're setting up our stuff in a clean duct. With his scheduling, he is booked out pretty far most of the time. We'll probably hit the IAQ first and then the duct cleaning. And of course, fully clean the air handler. Pull the blower motor out, pull the heat kit out, vacuum all of that stuff that we can get out of there. Take some environmentally friendly, obviously safe cleaner and wipe down as much of it as possible. The drain pan, clean the coil, wipe off the insulation, clean the heat strips, all of that fun stuff. Fix the dryer vent. I still love the P-trap in the dryer vent. That was awesome. And then we're going to follow up several weeks after we install all this stuff, and we've given our IAQ time to run and kill everything in the air that we can, and the duct clean is done, our humidity's under control. We're going to have Kyle Masters with Action Dry out of Stephenville, Texas. I actually didn't know that they did it. I know Kyle through a variety of projects. Great guy, but I had called him because I knew they cleaned carpets and they had probably dealt with humidity and mold. But they actually have a mold testing service to where they collect samples from different rooms and then they send them off to the lab, and the lab can tell you if you missed anything or if there's any buildup. And then the estimate, as you can see, it totals up pretty quick. It's about a $13,000, $14,000 project to get all of this done. I included a page basically saying what I said earlier about the inspection. I feel like a lot of this should have been caught. The improper ventilation, not having any control on it. I think that should have been a really obvious catch. Obviously, it didn't get caught. I feel like they should be asking for manual JDNS on every new construction home. The fact that they're not is tied to this ongoing belief that energy code doesn't apply in Texas. It's been a state code for years. But anyways, argument for a different day. But anyways, I feel like they should be catching the off-sizing of the equipment by that manual JDNS. The dryer connection should have been caught. Uh, I mean that nice little P-trap in that dryer. I don't know how that didn't get seen. I mean, if you say, okay, he didn't catch that there's no control on the ventilation, he just saw the ventilation duct. Okay, bad day for an inspector. Don't do the manual JDNS because you don't think the energy code applies. Okay, terrible oversight, but understandable. Missing a P-trap right in your dryer duct, right in front of your attic access. I don't know how that gets missed. So anyways, I put that in there. I told them to try to look up that inspector license number, pursue whatever they can through the state that way. The HVAC contractor, you can go through TDLR on something that's way out of code like this. And then whatever avenues they have for the builder, I have a feeling that's going to be a rough one. I feel really bad for this homeowner. It's kind of a really bad situation to ever find yourself in, but to find yourself in it in a 2 or 3 year old home is just, it sucks. I mean, just look at that. Can you imagine spending your life savings to build a home, get moved in with your family, and 2 years later, that's what you see when you change your filter. This stuff is real. There's a reason that this stuff should be getting done. I know a lot of other contractors I talk to, a lot of builders I talk to, they really think that I'm going overboard saying we have to be doing this manual JDNS, we have to be doing the humidity control, we have to be doing the ventilation. Maybe it's one home out of 100 that ends up like this. I mean, we have 6 in a row, or 5 or 6 or whatever in a row by the same builder that all have these humidity issues. So I guess there's that. But say it's 1 out of 100 or 1 out of even 150, 1,000, whatever you want to say. If we can save one homeowner going through all of this 2 years into their new home, and them not be living and breathing this every day, it seems like it'd be worthwhile. But that's why the code changes are coming. If you missed our episode on that, bounce back and catch that. But they're going to be a lot stricter about this inspection because they don't want to see this. They don't want to run into situations like this. One of the neighboring houses, which is only 2 years old, they had already had to rip out all the sheetrock from the bathroom because of mold growing there, and redo their entire bathroom in a 1 to 2 year old house. I have a feeling we're going to go through and test all of the houses there, hopefully. Obviously, they're waiting on this report, and then they're going to give it to their neighbors, and then we'll go check their houses, hopefully. And hopefully we can get this cleaned up, get everybody breathing a little healthier. But anyways, that's the mold house. Again, if you're a end user customer, you're the one going to be living in the home. This is why I believe, maybe it's because I'm an HVAC guy and we tend to think we're more important than what we are, but I believe your HVAC contractor is one of the most essential contractors on a good, efficient build. I think if your HVAC contractor is not versed in building science, is not versed in how to properly design a system for a tight home, all of this stuff, you're putting not only your risk of having to spend money in the future, but the health of a home, the health of your family at risk. I know that I'm more expensive than a lot of people that do new construction. a lot of companies that do new construction, they go one to the next to the next. They sell a lot more equipment. They get it a lot cheaper. They get their material a lot cheaper. They use sub crews that are fast, not necessarily good. Some of them are good and fast, but bottom line, there's a lot of people that shop prices on AC systems. And I believe that's a mistake on a good build. If you're using spray foam and you're tight and you're efficient, your HVAC guy should be a good percentage of your home price. I mean, if you're getting it absolutely cheap and you go to somebody that seems to know what they're doing and you tell them, you know, you're twice as much or you're X amount more or whatever, there's probably a reason. Have them break it down. Obviously, try to make good decisions. Get informed, but this is why I think HVAC contractors in particular are really important to new construction on efficient homes. As far as the manual JDNS stuff, if you don't know how to do it, reach out, find somebody that does. Corbin Lunsford out there by Austin has a really good company set up. That's an expensive way to go for a report, but he's very good at it. Watch the Build Show with Matt Risinger, and he has one on the heat loads and all of that stuff, and they'll break down why it's important. And then just make sure that your builder cares about these details, because these are important details when you're living in the home. But anyways, that's enough for me for the day. I apologize for being late getting it out. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully you don't have a similar situation. But it really goes to show why you should be kind of taking care of these details as you're designing the home. Try to get somebody that cares about what they're doing, somebody that'll be back so you're not 2 years down the road trying to figure out who did the AC, who's at fault, why the inspector didn't catch it, all of that stuff. Get somebody that you like, know, and trust, as Master Networks likes to say. But that's all I've got for today. Thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you next time.